Now to China, the coronavirus, human rights and the 2022 Winter Olympics. Let's start in New York and the speech beamed into the United Nations from Donald Trump. When it came to China, he was not backward in coming forward.
We must hold accountable the nation which unleashed this plague onto the world, China. In the earliest days of the virus, China locked down travel domestically while allowing flights to leave China and infect the world. China condemned my travel ban on their country, even as they canceled domestic flights and locked citizens in their homes. The Chinese government and the World Health Organization, which is virtually controlled by China, falsely declared that there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission.
You know, the left say they hate Donald Trump because he spins a lot of lies. I think they hate him more because he speaks truth like that. But of course, international criticism of China goes well beyond the pandemic. Its treatment of minorities, imprisonment of vast numbers of dissenters and minorities, its virtual annexation of Hong Kong, which was supposed to maintain some level of autonomy, and its flagrant disregard for international law with its fortifications in the South China Sea. These issues are all front of mind. And for all these reasons, there is a concerted push from politicians around the world now to strip China of the Winter Olympics scheduled for Beijing in 2 years' time. Liberal Senator Eric Abetz joins me live from Tasmania. Eric, you believe that China should join these calls to shift the games. It's a bit of a long stretch, isn't it?
Well, I believe that the games should be removed from China for a very simple reason. They do not deserve the prestige and privilege of hosting such an important international forum. We have a situation now in the world community where people would see China as becoming the epicentre of world attention with the Olympics and not focusing on their territorial gains, illegal territorial gains in the South China Sea, their terrible abuse of human rights, be it to the Tibetans, to the Uyghurs, to Christians, to Falun Gong, to their ripping up of the UN-sanctioned international agreement with Britain about Hong Kong and the way they're treating the Hong Kong democracy movement. The list goes on and on.
The list does go on, but the point here is that the games are not going to be moved from Beijing. That won't happen. You know that. And by adding your name to calls for this move, aren't you just going to further inflame relations between Australia and China for no good reason?
Look, I don't think that that's the case at all. The situation is, and I've heard some of the other commentary today, that if we try to remove the Olympics from China, it will only inflame the situation. In past years, that would have been called appeasement, and we know how that ends up. If you continually back off with a bully and say, look, if we confront the bully and say their behaviour is unacceptable, it might make them behave even worse. No, when you don't confront a bully, they become emboldened and then they act worse and worse. And that is why, having done what they've done in the South China Sea, they're then doing what they're doing to the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong. They have no compunction about putting 1 million Uyghurs into concentration camps. The list goes on, and it's about time that the freedom-loving countries of the world said to the communist dictatorship in China, enough is enough. And let me quickly clarify, my commentary is not about the Chinese people. I am sure that they are just as freedom-loving as we are. My criticism is of the horrid regime under which they suffer.
Just briefly, Eric, we are almost out of time, but I'm interested in your thoughts on these reforms to the NBN announced today. Does this mean we end up with fibre to the home after all?
Look, the NBN and its creation started off on the back of a coaster between Senator Conroy and Prime Minister Rudd from memory, and the people of Australia have seen the Liberal government trying to put it together in a way that is of best possible use and benefit to the Australian people. This recent announcement is just another step down that track, and we will seek to deliver the best possible NBN service to the people of Australia at as an affordable price as possible.
Thanks for joining us, Eric. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Liberal Senator for Tasmania, Eric Abetz there. I do want to share with you a little sneak preview of tomorrow's cartoon in The Australian. Johannes Leek has sent it through. It's another cracker in his series on Victoria and Chairman Dan. He's got Chairman Dan saying, Australia faces a devastating mental health crisis, and in the next frame, of course, so it's crucial we lock up these nutters before they do something silly. He's got everybody locked up. I tell you what, it is a sad indictment, isn't it, the way we have to shovel out mental health funding because of what we're doing to people, especially in Victoria. We love you in Victoria and we just want your freedom.